The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Saturdays or Sundays, SOR Media, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Any rebroadcast, reproduction, or other use of this broadcast or podcast without the express written consent of SOR Media is strictly prohibited. Listener discretion is advised. Are you experienced? Then come own the night with us.
Little brother has taken control, shoveling dirt in every hole. Predators to condemn your soul, watching you and watching me. We're all
stationed atop the mountains of British Columbia, live from SOR headquarters. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
We live behind glass curtains and act like nothing's wrong. Soon you will belong.
You can follow us on our website, spacedoutradio.com, and on Spaced Out Radio on iTunes. You can follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, and on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR, on Facebook at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio.
Brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized. Everyone's got an electric eye with the digital spies. They've watched you for so long. I know you're out there somewhere watching me.
Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go for a ride on Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
I know you're out there somewhere. We've watched you for so long. Wait for you to fall. We'll expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. Little brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized.
It's Tuesday, June 5th, Wednesday, June 6th, if you're on the East Coast or across the pond. And this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. Hope you had a great day and night. I am your host, Dave Scott, live from the Great White North in the Caribou region, on top of the mountains of central British Columbia, right here at SOR headquarters. We are 150,000 strong nightly on the SOR radio network. We are also live on Periscope.tv every Monday through Friday night. And if you're looking for our archives, go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we got a plethora of features for you. Rock out to some Bumblefoot, shop at our Spaced Out Radio store, read up on the encounter online, or watch great videos from UFO Seekers, Contact TV, and so much more. We got a good show ready for you tonight. I hope you all sit back, enjoy. Remember, if you're in the chat rooms or on Twitter, type in your questions in capital letters. I will get to them as quickly as possible. We got two guests tonight, so it's going to be a good one. It's the first Tuesday of the month, which means we are proud to welcome back, so proud to have back Geraldine Orozco, that is, and the spiritual you to Spaced Out Radio. Based out of San Francisco, California, Geraldine is an intuitive pranic healer and ascension coach. It was on October 15, 2013, when Geraldine experienced a vivid abduction from her bedroom window, where she recounts being taken on board a ship in which she met tall grays that showed her 8 hybrid children, along with a sting of intriguing information. Geraldine, always a pleasure to have you on Spaced Out Radio, my friend. It's hard to believe it's been a month already, but glad to have you back.
Hey, Dave. I know. Gosh, I can't believe it's been a month already, but here we are, starting again, and I'm so excited to be here. So thank you so much for having me, and I hope everyone's having an amazing night.
You know what? It just keeps getting better and better each night. Our audience keeps growing. I see the different names in the chat rooms all the time, so it works for me, and I'm quite okay with that. And we'll make sure that we get everybody involved as much as we can. What have you been up to the last month, 4 weeks since we last had you on here?
Oh my gosh, it has been a roller coaster ride. I've been doing a lot. I'm trying to finish up my book, and I have been speaking at a couple conferences, and I was able to get another regression recently with wonderful Miss Misha Johnson, the regressionist, and got some incredible information about some recent activity. But most importantly, tapping into what's going on in our universe, what's going on with all of the changes and the waves of energy that we're feeling, trying to integrate that information so we can understand more and how we can, interrelate with those relationships that we have and become more empowered. So tonight I have some really awesome information to share with everyone. And just excited to be here.
We always have new listeners coming in, so I always am going to ask you this repeat question, as I normally do. You were someone who 10 years ago had no idea you were going on this trek. 5 years ago, you were just starting to figure it out. Now, you gave up a very highly successful business in San Francisco to concentrate on the spirituality of life. Why did you take that path? What convinced you that this was the way to go?
Yeah, and you're absolutely right, Dave. I mean, I was in the corporate world. I had my own business. I had my own company. I was working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I'm telling you, it's nonstop when you have a business. I mean, there's no days off. And I was doing that for 10 years straight, focusing on a dream, on an illusion, on all of these dreams that I had put together for me, that I have worked so hard. I mean, I started my business out of my garage, so it was just like my baby, and it was my identity too. And what happened is that in 2013, after I had the experience of being abducted, literally having contact with this extraterrestrial life, my entire paradigm of reality was turned upside down. And I have to tell you, at that point, I have always been quite spiritual. I mean, I've been practicing. I taught meditation for 10 years alongside my other business with Bay Area meditation. I was teaching corporate meditation and individual meditation. And for me, meditation helped me through the hardest moments of my life, through building my business, through the death of my beloved partner, and through a lot of depression that I was dealing with and just uncertainty despite everything that was happening. And through that painful spiritual journey of waking up and opening up those layers and layers of pain, my most important question was, what is true? What is true for me? What is true for this reality, this existence that we live in? And I think that is what maybe somehow allowed this experience to open the gateway to a new way of understanding life. And so when that happened to me in 2013, like I'm telling you, everything that I believed in was just turned to something that didn't even matter. My belief in religion, in my family structure, in my belief in myself and who I was, and even my identity was questioned because it no longer made sense. When we believe in our structure and our reality that we live in our society, and what we are told, what we are educated with our science, with our mathematics, our physics, we build a reality around us based on that information. And it has truth, it has value. But when something comes in and turns all of that upside down, who do you turn to? For me, it was just a deep, deep search, journey of self-discovery that opened, and I had to find my own answers because I wasn't finding the answers outside of me or, anywhere. I went to conferences, I got books, I did everything possible to try to find those answers, and I wasn't finding them. So I realized that my journey and my own personal healing really had to take place, and that's when my journey started to go even deeper and deeper. And from 2013 up until 2017, it was a very deep self-discovery, destruction of everything that I used to believe in, and a re-identification and research on what is real beyond my existence. And that's where I end up where I am today.
Did you find it to be a lonely road? Because I know for me and for other people who have decided to go down the rabbit hole, that it was quite lonely at times. Did you find that as well?
I totally did, Dave. And it was when I'm telling you that my entire reality fell apart. Our friends, we can't really talk with us. I found myself extremely alone because at that point, having had an experience with extraterrestrial life, that's not something that you can, go grab dinner with your girlfriends and talk about. It's just not something that was possible and available. And so that is really what pushed me to find my answers for myself. It's that feeling lonely and disconnected from everywhere around, not being able to find answers, not being able to find someone that you can talk to that can relate to you. And at that moment, back then, I didn't know where to look, and I wasn't finding the groups to help me find that unity. So on our journey, that's something that we all experience. And of course, the spiritual journey is always a very lonely one, because only you know what you have gone through. Only you can have that level of complex authenticity with yourself to be able to understand your own soul journey. So regardless, it is a lonely journey. And in order to find any kind of solace in that is to find your truth on the highest level possible. At least that's what I found on my journey.
Explain that lonely road and what we mean by lonely.
Yeah, loneliness, when we think about that, is that we completely find ourselves separate. We find, first, we have an experience that takes us away from the norm, from the concept of what is normal, what is acceptable. And that's where we start to look at all the structures of belief that surround us. What is belief? What makes up our identity? Right now we are living in very specific paradigms of reality. And what creates the paradigms? A model of reality is the way reality is or something is supposed to be. It is a set of beliefs that shapes our perception of events and helps us explain these events. So we stick to these concepts of what is reality. And when we have to change that, when we have to question those realities and where those thoughts originated from, then we find ourselves kind of lost with the inability to connect with those around us that were raised within our community, within those very same thought structures and the paradigm of existence. Now, this takes us into a really great question of what creates our identity. Okay, and what makes us who we are is the things that are closest to us. So our family and our religion, whatever we perceive through our childhood. As a matter of fact, the first 7 years of our lives are the very basic lessons of how we are going to be interrelating with our emotions and our experiences. That's the basic design of our understanding of life and reality. So everything that we have absorbed during those first 7 years of our lives are what make up our perceptions. And then we go into the rest of our lifetime. So, of course, within our family, within our friends, all of us are going through the same creation of identity. Okay? Our religion takes a part in that. our education, and then our personality is formulated from those first 7 years. Any kind of talents, any kind of values that we make, our physical characteristics, who our friends are, what our sense of humor is like, our interests, our passion, and then our culture. We're going to go expand it a little bit. It's like rings of reality. We expand further out, and then it's our culture. So within our culture, how we identify. And then we identify our worth and our understanding of what is good and bad. So from there, all our structures of belief cause a sense of common beliefs that we share with our friends, with our family, with our community, with our coworkers. And we all create our circles and our network of family and familiar people based on what resonates with us. So when we're going through these emotional awakenings and our beliefs are being questioned, that's when we start to feel this sense of separation, okay? Now, our current reality structure is meant with all of these different structures of reality to cause us to feel separated from each other to begin with. And a lot of these things cause us to feel ultimately lonely because we are disconnecting. We have this sense of community and connection with the people around us, but if we look at how we interact with each other in our society, current day society, you know, we are so caught up in technology and with our busy lives, with our work, that we are caused to feel that we need to have a very individualistic lifestyle, okay? And so all of that causes a tremendous amount of anxiety and separation within our concepts of who we are. So again, going back to that spiritual awakening where we start to question who we are, who our identity is, and oftentimes we find ourselves understanding that everything that we believed or we thought to be true about ourselves may not have been who we truly are. It may have been something that was imposed upon us based on our structure, on our family, on our religion, on our culture. And so this spiritual awakening questions and challenges all of our identity because we are awakening. A lot of times we awaken through pain, through painful situations. And those painful situations cause trigger in us that remove us from the comfort zone. And any time that we are moved out of our comfort zone, that's where we start to question who we are, who our identity is. So that's where transformation takes place. You cannot transform and move and change things without being able to remove yourself from that comfort zone. So feeling lonely, you know, comes from this disconnect. And so what all of this identity, what all of these fractalizations of reality and existence cause us to do is to hand over our empowerment, our identity, to the external experiences around us. Spirituality does the opposite. It makes you go within. It makes you re-enter yourself and really connect and identify and do that internal search for who you are despite your surroundings. And that's where there is that conflict. So the loneliness that we feel, then we feel isolated because not everyone is on the same journey. Everyone has a different journey, a different story that they are processing through. But going within is necessary in order to find those true answers and the true identity of our existence. So this is where we start to question the core beliefs and what is formulating our core beliefs in our identity. So, you know, all of that is going to be shaken up in a spiritual work, in our spiritual work.
Geraldine,
so this is where we go into healing.
Go ahead.
Yes,
please go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Please go ahead.
No, this just takes us to our next topic of healing. You know, how do we access this healing? But please go ahead, Dave. What were you going to ask?
Well, I was going to ask you a question because in listening to what you're saying, the one thing that I have always tried to do, and there's a lot of people who try and simplify their lives or their justifications on things, and the way I have always kind of done things is, and I'm going to use, because I'm Canadian, I'm going to use a hockey term, that for every action, there's a reaction, whether it's positive or negative, whether you tap the guy on the shin pads and say, good game, or you say, I didn't like that, we're going to have to drop the gloves and go now. So there's always a reaction to every action. How do we control that emotion with the reaction to an action, whether it's positive or negative?
That's an awesome question. And it takes us back to our core beliefs. Because right now, because we live in a very individualistic, fractalized reality, we feel and we believe that there must always be that duality between good and bad, right? So when we talk about this spiritual evolution, when we're doing the spiritual work, what we find at the end of that road, after we start to dive into each one of those emotions, let's say we have an experience that triggers an emotion within us. Immediately, our first reaction is to identify whether that resonates with our concept of good, whether we are accepting that reality or we are rejecting that reality, or whether we identify it as something good, positive or negative. So this duality actually causes us a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, because we are constantly trying to fit. It's like fitting these squares into a peg, into a square peg. Sorry, what is that analogy? I forget. But, we try to fit into our structure, into our beliefs, so that we match what we believe is good and bad. So when we're feeling these emotions, immediately our body is reacting with our current belief system. And there are two aspects that battle that, and that is our intuitive side, our intuition, and then what we believe is good and bad. So that's where we have to question how we are processing information. And ultimately, Dave, what we find at the end of the day is at the end of our spiritual work, our self a journey to find truth, is that we must merge that duality of good and bad. We are unifying that perception and creating a neutral perspective instead of judging the emotions, so that we can further process the emotion on a deeper level.
But when it is, say, on a negative factor, when you were trying to grab that reaction, and it's on a negative factor, like you want revenge, we have to try and control that too, because in the end, revenge usually makes a bigger mess than what is already there.
Right, and it's really an understanding of what is emotion. What is emotion to us? Emotions are meant to be tools. They're meant to be our guidance system to understand what our body requires. But before we start to do any work, our concept of what we need is mixed up in the external need, an external need that is created by the subconscious mind. Because a lot of us are operating on a lot of false identities, which cause us to act out on a subconscious need for something, whether that's for love or for acceptance or something like that. So our actions now are fueled by that need, that imbalance, that essence of lack, of not having that wholeness within. And so, for example, in your example, this revenge that comes upon us, what is it that we were missing in that moment that caused us to feel the revenge? What was it that other person we felt took from us that we were not able to give to ourselves? So, this takes us through a whole journey of self-identification of our emotions and what is right and wrong for us. And ultimately, as we process these emotions through our body and our mind, we have to understand how to communicate with ourselves. And when we are releasing, let's say we talk about actually feeling that negative emotion. When that negative emotion enters the body, we have to question ourselves, why am I feeling this way? What is the origin of that negative emotion? Because what we're going to find is that a lot of our emotions are coming from past experiences. And everything that we're feeling, everything that we are perceiving through our filter system, that takes me to our next topic, which is our bodies, how our bodies work. And when we start talking about protection, which I want to get into in a little bit, we're going to start talking about how the multidimensional body is made up, how our chakra systems operate. And one of the ways that we start to identify emotion is by understanding that each thing that we are perceiving in our reality, that we are picking up through our 5 senses, we are processing through our many different systems of filtration systems or perception systems. And those are based on past experiences. So when we feel these emotions, we are pulling from what we know. And for us, maybe revenge is something that we have dealt with many times in our lifetime, for example. So we are pulling from that knowing. Another person that has a different belief system may not have that same concept of revenge. So ultimately, we must ask ourselves, what is true for us and does it serve us? Because currently, without having that communication with our internal guidance system, we have a very complicated and maybe confused perception of what is right and what is wrong. And we end up acting from a place of, we're going to say, maybe lack of having that expansion, that a more clear overview of what is real and what is required for you at that moment. So, it's just a matter of questioning yourself, and when those emotions come up, allowing yourself to feel them all the way. Allow yourself without any resistance. When we stop and become completely present with the emotions that enter the body, those strong waves of anger, of resentment, of, all of those emotions, a lot of times we run away from the emotions, and that's what causes the confusion, because we have this judgment of what's good and bad. We've already made up our minds, and that blocks us from finding deeper truths that are really important for our healing. So when we become present with the emotion, we start to open up even more truths about ourselves. We start to understand, let's see, when was the last time I felt that? What happened there? What happened in that interaction? What triggered me to feel that way? And then if you want to take it further, you're going to remember when was the first time that you felt that way. And that's something that I do in my work with my clients, is that we go on a journey of self-understanding of where the root cause of these emotions originated in our life. And through that journey, you find so much information, Dave. You start to understand what your initial perceptions are, where you are coming from, and how you came to the decision of what created your perceptions. And that's so important, because we tend to live life kind of just floating and kind of unconsciously acting and reacting without taking a moment to really feel and to become present with what we're feeling. Basically, taking full responsibility of our emotions and our experiences, we kind of just barely make it through, doing what we believe, what we think, initially, instinctually. And that's, not the healthiest and not the most conscious way of living.
But a lot of people feel more alone when they are around others rather than when they are alone themselves. How do you describe or define that oxymoron?
Right, because as we're coming into a new way of living, Dave, and what I mean by that is that a lot of people are questioning their reality. And we question our reality because we are trying to identify who we really are in all of this. And some of us are doing that work, and some of us are not doing that work. So if we go into a crowded room full of people that are not on that same journey as you won't resonate. You won't be on the same, wavelength. mentally, emotional, multidimensionally. We are multidimensional beings. So whatever we are working on consciously or subconsciously is what makes up our energetic space, our vibration, our signature. So we fall out of resonance with a lot of people that no longer resonate with us energetically. And that signature that we are creating creates a magnetism. And that magnetism is going to attract like people and reject other people that don't resonate with us. So if we are in a room full of people that are not on that same wavelength, on that same mentality, we're going to feel very alone because we are not magnetically resonating with them. And that happens from an energetic perspective. Now, from just a socio perspective, the way that we interrelate with people around us, we're no longer wanting to have those empty conversations or those, small talk, as I call it. And we don't resonate anymore with that. A lot of people that are on this journey of self-discovery, the things that used to be valuable to us, let's say what we saw on TV, on some TV show the night before, the latest soap opera or whatever it is that we are watching now, or politics, or, some people are pulling away from those common ways of thinking and doing that used to resonate in an old paradigm, an old way of thinking. So we are creating a new reality right now. And this has been happening for many, many years. And as we do, people that are working on themselves have to understand that we have to bring it in. We can't be externalizing our need for connection. The biggest way to find the deepest connection is by actually connecting with ourselves on such a deep level that we no longer require that approval from other people around us, the acceptance from other people around us. We are strengthening our internal core to the point that we are now a beacon of light, let's say, a beacon of this expansive energy. Now, those people will gravitate towards us. So we have to stop giving away our power, because we give away our power. We expect our surroundings to support us and to provide us with all these things. But the truth is that we are supposed to be, and we are, the most powerful creators in our reality. So, when we're in a room, we have to become aware of who we are and what we're doing. And when we do, we let go of all those concepts of fear, of not being liked, not being accepted, not being loved, all of those false concepts that cause us so much pain and suffering. And they are false illusions of reality that we can change, we can transform by becoming aware of who we are.
A lot of people feel, Geraldine, that they are carrying around chains of all of the stress, the agony, the depression, the anxiety that they are carrying along with themselves. And it's really those heavy chains they carry on a daily basis which weighs them down. It makes people slouch. It makes their backs hurt, their legs hurt, their shoulders, their necks hurt. How do you let go of that when sometimes there is absolutely no solution in order to do that? Working out doesn't work because your mind is still going. How do you do it?
Absolutely. That's such a great question. Like I was saying, we're multidimensional beings, okay? And what makes our body? Our body is a magnificent source and collection of different vibrational information, okay? And I'm going to explain what the multidimensional body looks like. We have a physical level of a body, which is the bio layer. Then we have the quantum, the astral, the mental, and the soul. Okay? Those are the different sections that make up the body. Now, why am I going to explain this? Because when you understand what the body is made up of, what it looks like, you're going to understand how we hold on to this information, and that's why it's so important to understand that. The multidimensional body has these different layers, and those are the different, departments, okay? You have the physical, the quantum, the astral, the mental. You're going to take that down another layer, And when you break these layers up, you have your biological layer, which is the physical and this material layer. We have the emotional, the primal, the mental, our cognitive layer, our spiritual layer, our etheric, and our soul layer. Now, each one of these layers is also connected with our chakra system. Okay, what is the chakra system? We hear that word. Some people cringe when they hear that word. But I want to explain what the chakra system is because it's very important. And going into the biology of the body, simply explain the chakra system is a collection of vortexes of energy that reside within the body. And what are those vortexes of energy? They are connected to the endocrine system. Okay, we start with the root chakra, which is the base at the very root of your spine, and that's connected to your glandular system and the very root. The second chakra goes into the sacral part of the body, connected to the sexual organs, to the ovaries and the testicles. The third is connected to your emotional body. That's your spleen, your liver. Okay. Then you go up into our solar plexus, the adrenal and the pancreas section. The heart, which is connected to the thymus. The throat, connected to the thyroid. The third eye, connected to the pituitary gland. And the crown is connected to the pineal gland. Okay? So these are the endocrine system of the body, and those are the energy centers that are very intricately connected to all aspects of our bodies, different organs. Now, this is a really complex system, and that complexity allows us to understand how we are connected to different aspects of ourselves. Each one of these sections, each one of these vortexes is connected to our primal function, our physical property, and also an emotional connection. Now, why am I talking about that? Because depending on where you have an ailment, let's say you were saying you have back pain or something, no matter what you do, you can't release it. This information, whatever we are perceiving from the world around us, is becoming trapped within this space. It is information. It's simply information. And what is information? Information is all of that perception that we receive through our senses is now transferring into the body as emotion. And emotion is translated into vibration. And that vibration is sometimes stagnant. And that's what causes these blockages in the body. Okay? So let's give an example here of, let's say, the root chakra, which is one of its primal functions is to make us feel safe. It's our grounding, how we feel at home, in our safety, in our environment. Now, if you take that to physical property, this is the home of anxiety, okay, of a smell, of the physical plane, how we relate with our surroundings. Okay. Now let's take that to the emotional level. It refers to the basic needs. Okay, our safety, our security, our feeling grounded, and our sexuality. And this is the home of fear, any fear-based programming. So let's say you have gone through a traumatic, let's say a breakup or a divorce. You're dealing with a tremendous amount of trauma from that experience, and all of that came, you find later that this divorce was triggered through a lot of manipulative dynamics in the relationship that have caused you a lot of anxiety. And where did those come from? They came from a childhood experience of feeling abandonment. Okay? So why I'm explaining this is that all of these experiences in our lives are providing vibrational information which is stored within the body. And now we end up here as adults going through this divorce, and we develop this back pain and this lower back pain that is just excruciating. It doesn't matter what we do, but whether we work out, we go to a physical therapist, we just can't seem to heal from it. We look at so many different options. We can take medications. We can, go to a therapist. We try to do yoga, and it still doesn't go away. So we want to try everything to heal it. And my suggestion is to go within to that emotional level. Because we are multidimensional beings, we have to look at all different levels of our existence, of our reality, of what makes us human. And the emotional level is what is processing our perception. So we always must focus on that to understand where we are getting all of these blockages from. So the emotional level that creates this fear-based programming is now trapping them in the body. When I do my healing with my clients, we focus on accessing that emotion that is trapped within the body. And when you feel that emotion, like I was talking about earlier, you allow yourself, instead of resisting feeling that emotion, you notice that a lot of information starts to come up, a lot of memories, a lot of thoughts, and a lot of other emotions that you didn't recognize previously. Because we are complicated, and because there's many different levels of our consciousness, we have our immediate perception, and then we have our subconscious mind. And our subconscious mind is a collection of everything that we have experienced in our lives. So like we were talking about earlier, our perceptions and our core beliefs are what are going to formulate those perceptions. And sometimes we don't have that information readily available to us because we haven't accessed that. We haven't taken the time to understand ourselves. And that's why understanding yourself is so important. So why we're talking about this? When we talk about healing, we have to access the core of what triggered that emotional imbalance in order to find healing. And when we do, when we recognize what caused that original trauma, then we relieve and we can reprogram from that perspective what caused the pain to begin with, okay? And I talk about reprogramming DNA because our DNA is basically, let's say, like a CD that records everything that we are perceiving, everything that we are experiencing in our lives. And the reason why I talk about that is because from a vibrational level, all of this information is being stored as information that we are pulling from consciously. And we understand that our DNA is being changed through our experiences. Okay, now we're getting into epigenetics. That on a cellular level, everything that we eat, everything we feel, everything we think, our activities and our daily lives are forming our experiences and our reality. They are forming who and what we are, so that when we are passing our genetics on to our children, those children are also receiving that information. Okay, so we become aware of how we are creating who we are by looking at the genetics and how it's passed on through our ancestral lineage. Okay. Now we're taking this question into a whole big picture here, because it's really important for you to understand the bigger picture, because it's not simply about that ailment, the back pain or the feeling or the emotion. We have to understand the bigger picture so you understand the importance of healing, the importance of transformation and working on this level. It has to be a conscious level that you are aware that all the emotions and experiences that you're having are building and creating who you are, And so that goes down to a genetic level. Your DNA, your identity, your ancestral lineage, all of that makes up who you are. And if we take it even further, going down the ancestral bloodline, we notice patterns, okay? And that goes into a whole different topic that we can get into some other time. But it's important to know that, because this is how we heal. If we really truly want to heal our bodies, if we want to heal even further our society, we have to start with ourselves. And this work starts with these core emotions, every emotion that we feel.
A lot of people, though, do shift. They shift with time, they shift with age, puberty, adulthood, childhood, toddler. We shift as we get older. But does the message and the goal and the lineage stay the same?
Mm-hmm. So a lot of times you're talking about the lineage or the ancestral line, or which one?
Let's go with the ancestral line there. Let's go with that.
Ancestral line. Yeah, I mean, we develop and we shift with age, but our information that we are receiving as children is what we are receiving from our parents, right? So that's our immediate environment. You know, we are, as organisms, we are formulating and creating this organism based on our surroundings, based on our environment. Just the way a cell is developed based on its environment, we are being developed based on our environment, and that goes on cycling through the lineage, through the ancestral line. So, you know, our fathers and our parents are, whatever they did to us, whatever our experience was, whatever they taught us, how they interacted with each other, all of that is formulating our perceptions of reality. And for them, it happened the same. And for their grandparents, for our grandparents, it happened the same, going all the way back into the very beginning of our creation, of our DNA, of our ancestral bloodline.
But does that change, though, as we learn our individual self?
Absolutely, because ultimately, as we change ourselves, most importantly, when we heal ourselves, okay, so this is going into networks, right? And our families, on some level, are a collection of, let's say, souls, okay? DNA. All of our ancestral lineage is a collection of souls, of DNA, of information. Now, all of us have experienced in that ancestral lineage experiences that link us together, that have made us who we are. So when we heal a certain aspect of ourselves, when we are working on clearing up a trauma that occurred to us when we were children, we are also clearing up our network, because what we're going to find, and what you'll find as you do the work, as you start to dive deeper into the experiences, especially in childhood experiences, is that we are mirroring a lot of patterns. I'll give you an example. A child that was abused by their parent, they question, why was my parent abusing me in this manner? Why would they do that? They didn't love me. And so we keep it very peripheral, but what we have to do is go deeper, because that the parent that is, acting in this manner to the child, if you look at their lineage and their history, what happened to them, how were they raised, we find a lot of patterns. We find that they were also abused. They were neglected. And we start to find these patterns within behavior within our families. And a lot of times we take on those patterns of neglect or hate. And normally what we find out is that we end up with a lack of self-identity, a lack of personal love, personal connection to the self, any kind of work, spiritual work. And that causes a lot of pain and a lot of disconnect within, when you have a child in those relationships. So when we are working on that level, we break contractual agreements. And I like to talk about contractual agreements because they are a simple way to work with this information. But ultimately, what we are talking about is all of that vibrational information that we are taking on from our lineage that we have inherited and we are acting out on physically and instinctively. That's what makes up who we are, and we are reprogramming that information. So this abused child, for example, breaks the contractual agreement, and that contractual agreement consists of all of the abuse that the parent had taken when they were children, all the abuse that their ancestral line is holding. Because what happens, Dave, is as we cycle within our DNA, within our ancestral lineage, it appears through the work that I've been doing, what I've been finding is that we are cycling through these stories constantly over and over again, these patterns. And a lot of these patterns have a lot of things in common in different families, okay? And it's almost as if what we're coming into now is a culmination of all of that trauma, all that pain within that lineage that a lot of us have now come in to clean up, to heal, to end those cycles. And as we're moving through an old paradigm of belief, we are coming into a new paradigm which is focused on the unification of duality, of integration of duality, which is different than what we have been dealing with in the past. So a lot of us that are going through spiritual evolution and work right now are faced with those tasks of cleaning up not just ourselves, but our ancestral lineage. And it happens through this work, through this emotional journey that we go down to understand what is the core of our belief. So, when we heal those aspects of ourselves, we are healing literally our entire lineage, because energetically we are holding on to that vibrational information. So we visualize breaking contracts, cutting cords. It's really important because our multidimensional body is holding on to all this information inside of the physical body and inside of the ethereal level, inside of all the levels of our body, our emotional level primarily. Our memory centers, it's like a memory that records all this information from the very beginning of time. So we have to go in and clean that up in order to create order, balance within our organism.
We only got about 5 minutes left here before we got to go to our first break of the night, Geraldine. And I want to get into protection because for a lot of people, they don't know how to protect themselves on a spiritual level. And those of us who do, we also tend to forget at some pretty important times as well. So what's the reminder that we need for ourselves, that we need to protect ourselves on a spiritual level often?
Spiritual protection. Let's see, what can we simplify this? The number one thing is the connection to the self and the connection to our intuitive guidance system, okay? And we need to train our body to be a powerful intuitive guidance system. We have to connect with ourselves because from that guidance, we are able to identify what is toxic and what is positive for us. Right now, a lot of us walk around very disconnected from our surroundings, very disconnected to ourselves. So we are our worst enemies sometimes because we are not even conscious of what we're feeling. We don't even know what our emotions are. So having that communication with our body to be able to understand what we're feeling first and foremost and where that's coming from, we have the ability to act from that point, and then we can start applying our protection. Now, I am of the belief that we should be very conscious of our energetic space every moment of our day because we are multidimensional beings. So, and we can go a little bit more into that, but as being multidimensional beings, we have to work on creating energetic protection that helps us navigate our physical realm and our experiences.
Yeah, we can go wherever we really want with this because I know this was part of your talk and what you wanted to discuss tonight was the protection and how do we protect ourselves. And I think, and what kind of brings it up to me is a couple weeks ago when I did my ghost tour, I actually got attacked by a ghost for the first time.
Wow, yeah, that's true. I got to tell you, it's amazing.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, it was not a good feeling. It really was not a good feeling. And when you're playing with things that you don't really understand, because anything in the spiritual realm, whether it's ghosts, whether it's aliens, cryptids, we don't know what the hell we're doing. Let's be honest. We can only surmise. But that was a warning for me. And when I look back at what happened and what went wrong, I realized that I had forgotten to protect myself at the beginning of the night.
Well, you got it, Dave, and I'm so glad we're talking about this. And I got to tell you, something similar happened to me recently. And this takes us to our... I want to go over protection, and then I want to talk about the June frequencies and energies, okay? Sometimes we travel through different energies in our existence right now, And for June, this is going to be a very powerful topic this month. So I think we're talking about this in a timely manner.
We have about 90 seconds here. So when you start to, and I'll get you to just ask you a quick question here. When you start to tell people how to protect themselves, what's usually the reaction you get from people?
I think people are pretty open as far as I've seen. I mean, these practices are practices that have been available to us for centuries and centuries and centuries. And why? Because we all function the same way. Like, we cannot, we don't utilize technology unless we know how to work it, So we have to understand how our body operates. So these are basic rules of operation for the body. It's just a little roadmap, a little how-to on how to operate the physical body. So when we understand how the body works, we can understand how to protect it. Because, again, it's a complex operating system that we have to become familiar with.
Are you comfortable with it?
Yes. I mean, I have the experiences that I have had, trust me, my abilities to protect myself have been tested, especially with all the different experiences that I've had with extraterrestrial contact, with entities, and with healing, because in my healing work, I encounter a lot of people that are holding on to a lot of entities, a lot of darker energies, a lot of haunted space. So I have learned many, many different ways on how to protect myself. And so that has become even more and more apparent now. So, yeah, happy to share everything that I know.
We'll do it next hour. Geraldine Orozco is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. She comes in the first Tuesday of every month with The Spiritual You, her website, bayareameditation.com, if you want to check it out. We got one more hour with Geraldine before Tessa Nicole Thomas comes in for hour number 3 with me. We'll be back with more Spaced Out Radio right after this.
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new, with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
The freedom to post what you want, when you want. That's the social media freedom you need. Social Media Freedom is the free app in your app store. No need to worry about going to jail or being shadow banned any longer. It's the freedom to say what you feel. The freedom to know Big Brother isn't watching. It's the way social media is supposed to be. Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Download from your app store today.
Coming September 28th to the 30th, it's our first annual Caribou Paracon, put on by Spaced Out Radio and the Canadian Society of Questers. 3 days of paranormal, supernatural, and spiritual knowledge in the beautiful 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia. Tickets are $150 Canadian for the event, being held at the Spruce Hills Resort and Spa. Come watch our featured speaker, Grant Cameron, along with Lorian Fenton, David Weatherly, Ross Allison, and more. The Caribou Paracon, celebrating everything paranormal.
Hey Space Travelers, it's Joe Roop, your host of Spaced Out Saturdays. Come join me as we explore the realms of the paranormal, the esoteric, and everything in between every Saturday night at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. You know the truth is out there. Don't get caught sleepwalking. Come join Spaced Out Saturdays. That's every Saturday night, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, right here on spacedoutradio.com.
Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm going to take you for a ride every Sunday night on Spaced Out Sundays. I'm going to set up your week with some strange tales from across North America, from psychic readings, Sasquatch, UFOs, to the most haunted locations. Come join me at spacedoutradio.com starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, and let's get weird together. I'd love for you to join me. Spaced Out Sundays at spacedoutradio.com.
365 days a year, we're in the field, investigating UFO sightings, talking to alien abductees, and visiting secret military locations like Area 51. We're UFO Seekers, official partner of Spaced Out Radio. Follow our daily search for the truth at ufoseekers.com or like us on social media. Catch us on Spaced Out Radio every third Monday of the month as we discuss Area 51, UFOs, and more. And also, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube.
It's paranormal news at its finest. Welcome to The Encounter. At spaceoutradio.com, The Encounter online is SOR's trusted news source for everything weird and strange going on around the world. This is news editor Eric Markham. Our team of journalists are scouring the planet for those strange stories that rarely make the mainstream. No fear-mongering or fake news here. Head over to spaceoutradio.com and encounter The Encounter.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for some great nightlife? The Moose Vancouver is the place to be. Catch a game on one of the big screens or just come rock out to your favorite 80s and 90s hair bands. Great food starting at $6.95. The Moose Vancouver is open until 2 a.m. nightly. It's easy to find near the corner of Nelson and Granville. The Moose Vancouver is the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Want to learn more about aliens, cover-ups, conspiracies, cryptids, and the paranormal? All you have to do is tune in S4 as we take over the Spaced Out Radio night, starting at midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern, each and every Saturday night, right after Spaced Out Saturdays. Hi there, this is Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal. Join me, Corey Ruiz, and friends as we discuss the hot topics of the night. It's fun, entertaining, and as dark as the night. Find us at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
Do you want to know what's really going on in your world? Do you have questions about who you can trust in the mainstream media? Then look no further than the Rebel Planet. Come get the straight answers right here at spacedoutradio.com. Join me, Jamie Sexton, creator of Rebel Planet News, as I fill you in on the stories behind the stories. All you truth seekers, be sure to tune in to Rebel Planet on spacedoutradio.com the third Thursday of every month.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. And hit us up on Twitter using the hashtag SpacedOutRadio. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Welcome back to the second hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Great to have you with us. Tomorrow night on the program, one of my favorites is back, Grant Cameron. We are going to be talking about Zendras. We are going to be talking about disclosure and so much more, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time at spacedoutradio.com. We want to welcome in everyone listening in on the SOR Radio Network, including the Fringe.fm. We are also live every Monday through Friday night on Periscope.tv. We thank everybody tuning us in there. Our archives are on YouTube. You go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, and you can listen to them for free. The only thing I ask for in return is hit that subscribe button. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Oh, I don't know. Ocreocus? What the hell is this, Bill? Ocroleocus. Probably Ocrolucus? I don't know. I really don't know. Bill sets a password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Now, if you want our website, spacedoutradio.com, we got a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to some Bumblefoot, shop at our Spaced Out Radio store, read up on the encounter online, or watch great videos from UFO seekers, Contact TV, and so much more. Geraldine Orozco is with us tonight for the Spiritual You. She comes in the first Tuesday of every month to break everything down spiritually, zenfully, chi-fully. Her website, bayareameditation.com. Geraldine, welcome back.
Hey, Dave. Welcome back.
Right before the break, we were talking about spirituality and how to protect oneself, whether it's from paranormal activity, extraterrestrial activity, or just in daily life. What's your solution for protecting people?
Sure. So when we are protecting ourselves, we have to understand that we have a multidimensional body. We were talking a little bit about the layers and what makes up our human body. Now, when we talk about protection, we have to understand that because we have many different layers to the physical body, we become connected to any kind of entities or attachments. We become vibrationally in alignment to those things, depending on our vibrational information, depending on our magnetic resonance with those things. So the first thing to creating protection around our bodies, number one, we're going to start from the physical level. From the physical level, we have to focus on closing our aura, okay, our space, our energetic space. The body has many different layers to it. And the first, let's say 7, 8 layers of the body that we were discussing later, we have the bio layer, the emotional layer, the primal, mental, cognitive, spiritual, and the soul layer. We have to create an energetic shield, visualizing an energetic shield that completely surrounds our entire body. And this visualization is allowing us to become connected with what surrounds our physical body, basically creating a cocoon for us. Now, this is one of the most powerful and easiest ways to protect your energy when you are out in everyday life, every moment of your day. It is incredibly important to be conscious of this. Now, not only is this visualization allowing you to become aware of your energetic space, but it brings you into the present moment. Because if you are at work and you are surrounding yourself, visualizing yourself in a shield of light, you are also present with yourself. You are also becoming aware of your emotions. And it's extremely useful because in our workplace, we tend to interrelate with many different kinds of people, different experiences. And sometimes we have experiences where we are dealing with a lot of people that drain our energy, take our energy, our life force. And people drain our energy in many different ways, either by, talking negatively to us, by taking up our time, coming into our energetic space, saying negative things. There's many different types of energy theft, and I can break it down into 4 basic ones. Let's say an intimidator. It's a person that takes your energy by threat, forces people to pay attention using fear. Somebody that acts aloof, they get energy by acting coy or hard to get. An interrogator steals energy by judging and questioning others. Or somebody that plays the victim role, taking energy by making others feel guilty. So these are just an example of 4 different ways that people take our energy. And so we have to understand that because we are multidimensional beings, there are different ways that people and things and energies around us can harm us, or not necessarily harm us, but take our energy, our life force, if we are not conscious of our energetic space. So becoming aware and conscious of your energetic space is very important. Now we're going to take it to an emotional level. From an emotional level, being conscious of your energetic space allows you to also decide what emotions are yours and what are not yours. When we're talking about these dynamics of energy sets from our relationships with our coworkers, our family, our friends, we sometimes notice that our emotions sometimes are not even ours. We take on emotions from other people. A lot of us that are empaths, that are sensitive, we are taking on energy from other people, taking on their problems, taking on their energetic weight. And sometimes people dump those things on us. So we have to become aware of creating that barrier and boundaries, energetic boundaries that allow us to become protected of these manipulative dynamics of energy. Now, let's go a little further. When we are talking about protection, and in our everyday lives, the most practical is to create, for me, my opinion, is to create complete neutrality within our body and our mind. When we enter and we get to the point of being neutral, we are centered, focused, and connected to every aspect of ourselves, to our emotions, to what we're doing, to how we're acting, to how we're feeling. We come into a sense of complete unison with ourselves and with our experiences around us, everything that we are doing. And that allows us to enter into a state of neutrality where we are completely aware, we are balanced. This is another form of incredible protection, because now we are not being shifted by the relationships and interactions with other people, being reactive to those experiences. We are balanced and centered and focused on ourselves and how we can contribute to the highest vibration possible, or the highest ability in that interaction. Okay, so that's a great way to protect yourself. This is energetically the most practical way. Now, let's talk about dealing with entities and energies. How the body operates. When we are not conscious of our multidimensional body, when we're not conscious of having a protective shield around our body, we are open. Different aspects of ourselves are open. We have holes. We have cracks in our space, in our energetic space. And those cracks are created by fear-based programming, by vibrations that are lower, that are resonating with external connections. And those become cords that are now connected. And they also create entities that are connected to our physical body. Now, because we have a multidimensional body, we have to understand that our interactions with people function in different ways. Energetically, so we take on things from other people, and anytime we interact with anyone, we are creating an energetic cord, an energetic connection. So we have to be mindful. This takes us to the third way, is by cutting those energetic cords. Okay? And we have to cut these energetic cords, creating a routine of energetic hygiene every moment of our day, at least once a day, whether it's at the end of the day, after you have done all your things, ran your errands, gone to work, interacted with your family. We have to disconnect from all the people that we have connected with on that daily basis. Otherwise, when we're not aware of those energetic cords, we are throwing back these dynamics. And a lot of times, the lowest vibrational dynamics are what's the same in this 3D matrix. So that's what we're throwing back at each other when we don't become aware of those connections. So cutting energetic cords. And it's really easy to cut cords. You just visualize the other person, whoever it is, and in meditation, in my work, I like to visualize. If you don't have time to go through, if you're in sales and you're interacting with a lot of people, visualize a crowd of them, of everyone that you're dealing with, and just visualize one big cord connecting you to them. You're going to cut the cord on their end and on your end. And you're going to inhale deeply, visualizing taking back your life force, taking back all of that energy that was exchanged in that interaction. And at the same time, we are returning their energy back to them for their healing, their journey. And what this does is create neutrality, energetic neutrality between those dynamics and the energies. And this also helps us with healing our body, because a lot of these ailments, physical stress, and manifestations of pain in the body are a result of holding on to these old dynamics that we keep manifesting into blockages in the body. So let's see.
Can I quickly throw a caveat in there, if you don't mind? What if someone is cursed and they don't know it, or they find out that they have been cursed? How does one use that same technique in order to get away from the negative energy that has been brought on them?
Well, it's kind of an interesting question, because it really has to do with belief. Now, curses, in my opinion, curses are a form of energy work that is based on, I guess you can call them, in its purest form, a lot of pagan practices are the root of a lot of these kind of curses and energy work, where they're using, let's say, black magic or something like that. Now, these kinds of contractual enlacements are manufactured from the lowest vibration. So, and they are applied on a person that is open, without any protection, in resonance to these low vibrations. If you are completely protected, you cannot take on these kinds of curses or any kind of negative black magic things that people do on you, okay? And that's where your awareness and your protection comes in. We become, for whoever practices these dark magic, this dark work, they are very, very heavy enlacements with the earth. We live in a multidimensional reality, and within that reality, there's many layers of life forms. And, in my opinion, it is very karmic and very dangerous to be working with that kind of work, because it causes karma and contractual enlacements, not only for the person putting on those activities and for the person taking on the whatever curses are being put on these people or the person. It's a tremendous amount of contractual enlacement. And when I work with people that do have things like this on them, we have to do a lot of ancestral work and a lot of cleansing multidimensionally. Okay, so I really don't take that very lightly, because in our everyday lives, we come across some people that do play around with these things, and people that are doing things that they're not aware of, and sometimes people get into a lot of trouble, causing and opening their space to pulling in entities, energies from external beings that are in resonance with their lowest vibration, which is usually fear. Okay, so how do we protect ourselves? It's the basic rule for everyone. You must become completely aware of yourself, of your energetic space, of your boundaries, of your body. And in your spiritual work, as you strengthen this core strength within you, this protection, you become aware and of how to operate your body. Nothing can enter your energetic space, absolutely nothing. Okay.
So when someone is going along life and say they don't have a big support group around them, and they are bothered by depression, anxiety, or something along those lines, how do you tell them to build up the strength for protection for themselves? because they may be dealing with
Right.
major issues. Social anxiety comes to one.
Right. Absolutely. So self-empowerment, I mean, understanding who you are as a human is what's going to help you. And anyone that is going through this depression is, you know, for me, depression is a couple things. I have dealt with depression many years. And I know that depression is a suppression of emotions, a very deep suppression of emotions. And on the other side of that, it is a complete neglect of source and of understanding who you are. Because when someone deals with depression, there is a sense of isolation from the world around us. And, you know, that means that we are rejecting our essence, our pure essence. When you really understand what we are as human, when we understand how the body operates and who our light is, how our light works, we are source. We are fractals of source. Source is infinite. It is expansive. It's infinite consciousness and creation. And we must become aware of that, because when we do, all our concepts of being trapped in the illusion of being in this physical body as a victim of your environment will fall away. And that realization has to happen on many different levels. Again, it's turning that paradigm around. What makes up your identity, your core beliefs, all of that has to be questioned and readdressed from the perspective that you as an individual are a much more expansive and, you know, you are a being of creation. And with that self-realization, you begin to train your body to empower the strength within you, to heal and to understand how to operate this matrix illusion. Okay, I you know, feel that we need to become aware of all of the dynamics in our lifetime, all of these structures of belief that are limiting our ability to understand our power. And it is my biggest goal in everything that I do to provide each human an understanding of how they operate and who they are. Because when we understand that, we are no longer victims to our surroundings, to our storylines, to feeling that we are helpless and lonely. It is a complete empowerment and consciousness of who you are and living in that truth every moment of your day. And it is a process, but it has to be done, and it has to be done with clarity and with focus, because that self-love, and this takes me to my next focus of healing and protection, that the ultimate, most powerful protection is unconditional love. Unconditional love is not an emotion, it's not a sentiment. Unconditional love is a language, it's a vibration, it's a reality. It's the creation of a reality. And when we feel unconditional love in our physical bodies, we are transforming on a molecular level our entire existence into a powerhouse of creation. So as humans, we have to become conscious that when we tap into that unconditional love, that we transform from the inside out. And we no longer become in resonance to any of these low vibration entities, attachments, even extraterrestrials that are trying to, you know, manipulate, move, or affect human life on this planet. And it's the realization of that unconditional love that will pull you out of that sense of being trapped into the perception of depression. You know, so we have to work on that. Because if you don't understand your worth and you're going to surround yourself in a golden sphere of light, it's going to work temporarily. But the moment you start to go back into the illusion of your everyday life, you're going to be open again and resonant to all of this energy that is negative around you, which will attract and connect to you again, you know. And literally, all of these energetic connections around us, they look like vines, like these, let's see, how should I put it? let's say, an octopus that has these little vines that come into the body and connect to different aspects of the body, that connect to the different part systems, the endocrine systems, just like the chakra, they connect to different aspects, disabling and providing and feeding off the information that we are giving, all those low vibration emotions, the fear, and all of these are complex. There's different layers to it. That's why they connect to different aspects of our body, different layers of our body. So when we heal the body from entities, we are removing the connections and these beings that are feeding off different, perceptions, different fountains of information. Okay, so that would be my answer to that question.
You wanted to get into something which you call June frequencies and energies, and we are just a few days into June now, and I'm wondering if you could describe this and define this for our audience.
Yeah, absolutely. And just really quickly, Dave, I want to mention one more technique for energy protection that's really important, and that is clearing your energetic space. And so literally visualizing a vacuum being connected to your sphere and constantly cleansing and eliminating all of these negative thoughts, negative emotions that enter the body, allowing them to leave your space. And when it's time to do the healing, then you can go back and process and work with those emotions as needed, okay? But when we are feeling afraid in a circumstance that we require protection, it's important to help yourself come back into that sense of neutrality by eliminating all of those things so that you can empower yourself in that moment of needing protection. So I just wanted to say that one last part.
Thank you.
The June energy, yeah, absolutely. The June energy frequencies, I wanted to talk about that because I'm noticing that as I'm going month to month, I'm receiving powerful waves of emotions and experiences that I myself am going through. And when I talk to friends and family, I'm noticing that they are going through similar experiences. So I found this to be very interesting. And, over the months, I've kind of been writing down different experiences that I've gone through that have been similar. And I noticed that maybe these energies are going through the entire collective consciousness. So for June, I want to put out there, different things that we're dealing with. And the first one that I want to mention is that we're coming into a point where we are in recognition, just the way we were talking about unconditional love, of an internal alchemist, okay, that we can change. Okay, so an alchemist is someone that changes in metal into gold. And in that same way, we need to become alchemists of our emotions, of our reality, changing and transmuting experiences into opportunities for healing. And I think that that's something that we're really going to be focusing on in the coming months. And the next one is focusing on power and vulnerability when we are feeling vulnerable. And that's why we're talking today about protection, because what's been happening is that our structure of reality around us has been falling apart. We are coming into new ways of thinking as we're coming into a new paradigm, all of that identity, all those structures of beliefs. We are coming into something new, and as we do, we are questioning our ability to protect ourselves and how vulnerable and who plays the roles of power. We start to question who is in control and our place in this and what our self-worth is. Oftentimes we give away our power to the external experiences around us, and then we're starting to question, am I worthy? It makes us feel, even in all this information that's being put out there, when you get to the highest levels of information, then you start to feel worthless. You start to feel disempowered because there's so many things happening in our universe, in our galaxies, in our reality, that we often forget who we are. So it's really important to recognize our power as a human. Again, going back to that, what I said earlier about being that creator. We are these creators in our experience, knowing that any vulnerability that we feel we are allowing ourselves to feel that instead of rejecting and denying that vulnerability. If we reject that, we are causing a lot more problems for ourselves, and that cause, suffering and pain. Now, it's important to be connected to our authentic emotions, okay, as we move through these energies. A lot of things are making us feel vulnerable. And it really brings us to the place of questioning of what is power? What power used to be in the old paradigm is not what it is now. Not what it's going to be. So, just becoming really conscious and aware of that dialogue with ourselves. And next, we want to talk about manifestation. I talked a little bit about moving through one dimension from fourth to fifth dimension. And as we're moving through dimensions, we become aware that everything that we are wanting to manifests quicker, just the way time, energy is moving faster in this new, vibrational reality, in this new dimension. Everything that we are creating is being created based on our magnetism, on our electromagnetic field, which is created by our subconscious mind. So all of our thoughts, our emotions are creating our reality. So just becoming really aware of what we're creating every moment of our day, so that we understand that the subconscious mind is the greatest creator, and when the subconscious mind is confused, our creation is also confused. It's also weakened. It's also bringing us lower vibration reality. Okay. Now, this reality is balancing itself as we are coming into a new reality, and how it's balancing itself is that we are contributing with our every thought, our intention, and when we come from the highest intention possible, we are almost as if we are contributing to one balance of a scale, and that balance is light. It is this manifestation of creation, of healing that we are providing for our life here. Now, next is the source connection. We are strengthening our source connection this month. So as we are connecting with our new family, we are, we talked about loneliness earlier, but at the same time, we are finding our tribe. We are finding our frequency family. And in order to find them, we have to be vibrating at their level. So keep your vibration as high as possible. Again, connecting to that unconditional love as often as possible throughout your day. Whatever you are doing, just tap in to that emotion so you can feel it, and that you resonate with the people that are on that level as well. And you can meet the people that you need in order to carry out your mission. As we come into alignment and our new identity, this brings me to the next point, that is our identity. We were talking about the paradigm falling apart. And as it does, we are creating our new identity based on who we truly are, on our soul connection with our body and our soul. And I think that that's something that we're really coming into now. Last month, personally, it was a major push into who I am and what I'm doing and what my purpose is. And I know a lot of my friends and family have been going through the same thing. So this month, let's continue that work into placing ourselves in the places, connecting ourselves with the people, and doing the activities that we need to get our work done that we're here to do. Okay? And as we are accepting this new reality, creating a new paradigm, all of us are healing through our connection, through our light, through our transformation, the work that we're doing.
It sounds genuine enough, and it sounds easy enough for anybody to try and accomplish. But for most people out there, the struggles of everyday life really block the answers that they need in order to get to that spiritual guidance that they should probably be seeking on a daily or monthly basis.
Sure, absolutely. But again, when we get lost in our everyday grind, we are giving away our power. And we really need to just remind ourselves that besides our to-do list, we can handle the to-do list, but when we meditate, when we do the work, when we find time to reconnect with our body, we can tackle our to-do list from clarity, from a higher vibration. And at the same time that we are, checking off our to-do list, we're also healing our body, which is our primary reason and our purpose for being here. Healing not just ourselves, but the entire collective consciousness. We're at a time where, we're going through a lot of changes in our reality. Whether you like it or not, you can continue living your life, but the world around you is changing. So eventually you will be faced with those different ways of thinking, and those people are going to be popping up around us more and more. So we have to, for ourselves more than anything, focus on our healing, on our empowerment for our children, to be parents to our children, to be better friends, to be better individuals, to be friends to ourselves, to love ourselves, to be, that powerhouse. Anytime that we start to feel isolated, to heal that depression, a lot of us are going through depression. And it's because we are forgetting our empowerment. And we give too much value to things that we believe are valuable, but they're not. Yes, we have to pay the bills. Yes, we have to go to work. We have to do all of those things, but let's do them in a new way, a more conscious, aware, a more connected way with ourselves, so that we can, tackle those things from a higher vibration. And I think that our paradigm is really calling us to do that. So, just finding the time, making the time for yourself, loving yourself. You won't ever be able to get all of those things accomplished if you are struggling with fears, with depressions, with blockages, with old thought programs that are hindering you from getting to the next step. So, if just like a car that always has to get an oil change in order to function, or gas, if you don't put gas in that car, if you don't change the oil, that car's not going to function properly. So we have to prioritize ourselves and our healing. We got to make time for it.
Time is a big one. Many people don't have 5 minutes in a day. I look at Mrs. SOR, and, she is up for work at about 5:30. She gets home at about 5:30 that afternoon. Then obviously our little guy is all over mom because he wants some mom time. We try and help out with dinner and everything else, but she is so worn out from her days that she is wanting to go to bed at like 8:30, 9 o'clock with the little guy, and therefore doesn't even have time to relax and calm down or de-stress or defrag herself from her day. She's not the only one like that. There are plenty of people in North America who have stressful tasks to do every day. I'm thinking, take a single mother who has to work 2 full-time jobs in order to keep the wolves away from the door. Where do they find time?
They find time in the way that they do things, okay? And yes, you're absolutely right. We are living in this reality that is constantly keeping us going. And that's fine. That's fine. We have to be doing those things. But we find time and we heal through our how we are doing things. So I just want to invite everyone to try something, okay? And that is, whatever you're doing throughout your day, whether you have to get up at 5 in the morning, run out the door, tap into this unconditional love, tap into love, and do it with love, everything that you're doing. Because when we start to tap into that emotion, and when we become present with our physical bodies, I teach something called GPAC, grounding, protecting, aligning, creating. And those are some simple tools that allow us to become completely aware of our body. And these are things that we practice when we're running around. They're not things that you practice when you're sitting down meditating for an hour. It's being connected with the body. Okay, so get up in the morning, get in the shower. In the shower, as you're washing your body, become connected with your body. Feel love and appreciation for your body. Those simple things, the simple intention. Set your intention for the day when you're in the shower. When you're in traffic, you can work there as well. You can do affirmations. And, all of these things help us. We have to become proactive for our healing, for our ability to find time and heal for ourselves. And as we're doing everything, the easiest and most simple way to reconnect with ourselves is by becoming present with ourselves and by feeling that emotion of love. Okay? Now, if you're in sales, if you're interacting at a store, working with people, or whatever it is that your job is, do it from that feeling of love, that neutrality. It's going to help you not absorb and not give away your energy as much, and you won't end up at the end of the day so drained. We end up drained and exhausted because we're not eating correctly, because we're not drinking enough water, because we're not, present with ourselves. We're giving away our energy, our power all the time. We're externalizing everything around us. We're stressed out. We're believing in our illusion. And that has to change. The ways that we live have to change. We have to bring it home. We have to connect with ourselves on a level that we are compassionate with ourselves instead of allowing ourselves to become like a candle in the wind with light throwing us right and left. We have to become neutral and balanced. And in that neutrality, in order to create an empowerment and healing for the body, we then tap into that unconditional love. And that unconditional love allows us to feel neutral when we are interacting in any circumstance that is stressing, whether we're in traffic, whether we're dealing with a terrible coworker, or our child that is having a bad day or sick. We tap into that emotion so that we flow like a boat on top of the choppy waters. We are flowing through, aware and connected to everything that is occurring around us. So meditation is important to do, but if you don't have the time, you can meditate all the time. You can be meditation and live in that state of consciousness and awareness again.
Well, a lot of people, though, do use some sort of coping mechanism rather than meditation, whether it's going out for a glass of wine after work, or having a bath with a glass of wine, or beer with the boys. It could be anything from, smoking cigarettes to marijuana to having sex, because that also cures, some stress release right there. So there are a number of ways that we have that we may not be using, but they are different coping mechanisms. Do those work the same as well as meditation, or are they much different?
So the key word there is coping, okay? All of these things are meant to cope. That means, manage them at that moment. But those are things that we are doing that are they may be a quick fix, or they're a temporary, fix. Because when you're done doing those things, you're going to go right back into your life. And what is going to support you that next day? Are you going to keep doing the coping mechanisms that you were doing the day before? Our ability to heal our body has to become a commitment to ourselves. And we have to value and love ourselves and understand our worth on a level that we are no longer deciding to just cope and to live a mediocre, half-assed life. We are now taking charge of our reality, and we are no longer victims of our experience. We are not just, oh my God, I had a tough day, let me go get a glass of wine. Those are all, just illusions of this paradigm. And they're not even real solutions that we came up with. They are what our society has provided for us as a solution, because we see it in movies, because we see our parents do them. Those are not actual solutions for us that help us heal and change our existence. And I think we need to start to question where our value lies, in our, what things do we value? So if we value ourselves, if we value our success, in abilities to make money and our abilities to have a happy family, our life, and health of our family, then we need to start changing where we're putting our time and our energy. They say time is money. And, I am of the belief that time is life. Everything that we're doing creates our life. And we have to make the decisions and choices. So sometimes they're not the most pleasant. to pull us away from an old way of living, a toxic way of living. You know, if we look around us, we're not in a healthy environment. We're not in a healthy society. Everyone is on medications. They're in and out of the hospital. They're depressed. They're lonely. They're suffering. There's so much suffering. We have to change that. We have to change that. We have to heal inside out. And the healing starts with each one of us. Each one of us has to become empowered in doing that. Those are releases of energy, but you never release energy. All you do is reallocate that energy. Energy is never eliminated. It's only reallocated. So if you smoke, you know, well, first of all, you know, that's a toxic thing for your body. So right there, you know, is that something that somebody that loved themselves would do? Would they smoke themselves into a happy place? No, we wouldn't. We wouldn't, because that's not the ultimate reality. We have to be realistic. We have to stop living in fantasies, thinking that sex and a drink and smoking is going to be, you know, the way to fix our problems. And I think sometimes we become confused because we are living outside of ourselves. If we connect with ourselves, we are able to make those choices, again, based on that internal guidance system, that intuition. What's better for us? Choosing those better things.
I can see that. I can absolutely see that. But, I mean, you're right, and you brought up a good point. This is what society says you should be doing rather than what you should be doing for yourself. And it is a little bit amazing that people can make time to do those societal coping mechanisms, but to take 5 or 10 minutes for themselves to just relax and rewind, people just don't have time for it.
Right, you're absolutely right, and that's exactly where we have to question our priorities, you know, and that priority comes, you know, we don't want to change until we end up really sick, until we hit rock bottom, until we're in the hospital, you know, like in the ER, and then it's like, oh my gosh, you're right, I have to change my life, and we don't want to wait till that point. We have to make the change before that.
Does it matter if you are going through any type of spiritual attack, whether it's paranormal or extraterrestrial?
Yeah, it does matter, of course. Those are different things. But ultimately, in order to protect yourself, the protection is the same. And the core of that is understanding your empowerment as a human, creating that protection, that shield around you, and tapping into that unconditional love makes you completely, almost like invisible in a different dimension, in a different reality with those negative things. So I guess the answer is no.
You recently had another regression to try and put the puzzle pieces together as to what's happening with you. Are you comfortable enough to discuss that?
Sure, we can talk a little bit about that. It was very, very powerful. And I'm going to be talking about that this weekend further. But what I was talking about was some previous abductions that I had and the experiences that resulted from there, which affected myself physically. Now, as some of you may know, that I have been abducted since I was a child. And the regressions that I'm doing are a way for me to understand, learn, and comprehend what happened to me as a child, what happened throughout my life. And, you know, further understand this extraterrestrial connection that I have. So in this last regression, I was taken to an abduction that happened, and you know, I am a part of the hybridization program. So, you know, I was taken to that experience and what occurred there. And, you know, what I have found is that in the past, these abductions have resulted in physical ailments that, you know, I have experienced here in real time. So that being said, you know, when I come to a realization of how real these things are, these experiences were, they really changed my way of thinking of things. And in the regression, I talked a lot about hybrid children and the new wave of children that are coming into this new paradigm. And I was receiving information regarding these new children. A lot of the children that are being born now are taking in the soul of these hybrid children. And they take them in, and they are something called, I'm sorry, I don't remember the name at the moment. I'll have to check what that is.
Is that indigo?
No, it's a new wave of children that's coming in. And they're coming in this year, starting this year. And I said the name of them in my regression, but right now I can't remember what name that was. I actually haven't even heard the regression after I did it. I just did it yesterday with Misha Johnson, which is an incredible regressionist. And so these children seem to have something that's called a dual soul. They have a dual soul. And this is very interesting because this dual soul is almost like a split personality or a split essence, essentially, that allows them to work interdimensionally with whatever they are doing. They are children that have to be taken care of in a very special way because they have such sensitive energies and bodies. They have to be nurtured with very specific vibrations. Otherwise, they have the ability to access, let's say, how do I say that? Dualities, deeper dualities. It's like a magnified existence of duality. So we believe things as good and bad. They can access either one of those on a deeper level. So it's almost like creating this balance, this unity within our perceptions. And that's why it's so important. And these beings are coming in to show us that importance, that understanding. So that's one of the really important things that I brought in. In addition to further understanding the construct of our reality and how we are interrelating ourselves with these extraterrestrial beings. But ultimately, the most important aspect of that is to understand our place in this existence and the fact that we are so incredibly empowered and vital to this creation and the relationship that we have with these extraterrestrial beings. It's important that we understand that they exist and that they are a huge part of what creates our reality and manages it, so that we can take back our power, I guess you can say, our participation in the continual driving of this reincarnation cycle, I guess you can say. Now, there's a lot more to this information we can get into some other time, but our participation in the reincarnation cycle, in these life cycles that we are feeding life for this manifestation of life in this matrix universe, is we are able to do that by changing this paradigm. And essentially, our paradigm is changing because we live in an evolution. Everything is constantly evolving. We are moving to fourth and fifth dimension, but at the same time, other dimensions are moving in and out of each other. And as they do, all of us have an opportunity, new opportunities. That's why we have waves of energy that change, that are month to month different, because the information in the entire universe is changing. And all that information that originates from, let's say, source or from the origin of this universe is being bounced from one galaxy to another, from one sun to another, and from sun to planet, providing new shifts of information, which at the same time alter our DNA. So we are like antennas. We are being constantly altered from many different perspectives. And that's why it's so important to understand our protection. We talked about protection, that our energetic protection in our body has to become very aware that there's many different things occurring at the same time, and they occur on different levels, even in our sleep. So the more work that we're doing throughout our day, like we were talking about, this energy, this meditation, daily constant meditation, we are healing ourselves, not just to protect ourselves from our lifestyles, from our work, from our children, from whatever, our families, But we are also protecting ourselves from further, much larger energies that direct this existence. And that's really where the most important, awareness needs to come in at this point.
Geraldine, we are down to about 2 minutes with you. I'd like to know where you're speaking this weekend and if people are in your area, where they could come watch you.
Thank you so much for saying that. I'm actually going to be on a radio show. I'm not speaking live, and I'm going to be on Starseed Radio.
Oh, you're with Misha. I was just there this past Saturday.
Exactly.
Yes.
I heard your interview was amazing. I loved hearing your story. Was awesome.
Well,
so I'm going to be chatting with her as well. Yeah, you're welcome. It's going to be a good time. Saturday at 9 on her Starseed Awakening channel. Yeah. So please do if you feel like it, tap in, and we're going to go deeper into that regression, talking about the details, I guess, of all of these things.
And tell us a little bit about your website and what people can find there and how they can get a hold of you.
So I work on DNA reprogramming, and basically, essentially what we were talking about here, the work that we're talking about, clearing and cleansing our DNA, reprogramming trauma, healing trauma so that we can leave the reincarnation cycle. My whole focus is on empowering the human to become a fractal of source that is conscious and in alignment with unconditional love. And we get to that point when we heal all the past trauma. So you can find me at bayareameditation.com, and my sessions are an hour and a half long. They are a 4-part session that is included within that 1.5 hours, so it's a very heavy work. We work on meditation and activating the technology of the body. We work on regression, and I work on looking at your multidimensional body, removing all of these entities, all of these cords, all of these attachments, healing and realigning the physical body. So if you want to get a session with me, please connect with me. I'm very happy to work with you, and I am here to serve. And any questions that you may have about my journey that may help you, I'm also here available to answer anytime.
Thank you so much, Geraldine, for coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight. Always a pleasure. We will see you next month. Coming up in hour number 3, Tessa Nicole Thomas from Spaced Out Sundays is going to join us. We're going to continue on the idea of protection when it comes to the paranormal. We'll be back with more Spaced Out Radio and the Thought of the Day right after this.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
The first annual Caribou Paracon is happening September 28th to 30th in the 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia. Brought to you by the Canadian Society of Questers and Spaced Out Radio. Come listen to our featured speaker, Grant Cameron, along with Elizabeth Anglin, Paisley Town, Mike Moran, Eric Cooper, and more. It's a 3-day supernatural adventure at the Spruce Hills Resort and Spa. Tickets for the weekend are $150 Canadian. The Caribou Paracon, celebrating everything paranormal.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today
We're lighting the void on Saturday nights on Spaced Out Radio. Hey, this is Joe Roop, and I'm hanging out in SOR headquarters every Saturday night, bringing you the latest news when it comes to the weird and strange. Bigfoot, occult, UFOs, ghosts, and everything in between, I got you covered. You can tune in to spacedoutradio.com starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time. Come travel into the void with us on Spaced Out Saturdays.
Not ready for bed on Saturday night? Right after Spaced Out Saturdays, hop on over to S4 with Corey Ruiz and me, Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal. With S4, there are no limits to what we try and uncover. From government conspiracies to helping clean up the paranormal, no topic is safe on S4. We get to the heart of the matter, of the subjects you want to learn more about. So tune in on S4 starting at midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern, only on spacedoutradio.com.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
The Call of the Wild is in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is one of the hottest bars and restaurants in the city. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose will rock you like a hurricane all night long. Great food with everything on the menu at $6.95 near the corner of Nelson and Granville. Get your horns up and come rock with us. The Moose Vancouver, the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
This is Eric Markham, news editor for the Spaced Out Radio's The Encounter Online. We have put together a great team of writers and journalists from all over the world to bring you top-quality paranormal stories, from alien encounters to the latest conspiracies. You won't find any of that fake news here. True stories and top-notch reporting as we look to bring these experiences to the mainstream. The Encounter Online, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Do you want to know the truth? Do UFOs exist? Are aliens real? Are the governments hiding the biggest secret in history? We're UFO seekers, and we're on a hunt for the truth. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow along with us as we journey across the United States, visiting UFO hotspots and alien hotspots, trying to document the UFO phenomenon. Catch us on Spaced Out Radio every third Monday of the month as we discuss Area 51, UFOs, and more. And also, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories.
From the mile-high state of Colorado, sharing our signal around the world, I invite you to Spaced Out Sundays. Hi, I'm Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm closing out the week by taking you on a paranormal journey to the world of the weird. Ghosts, aliens, psychic phenomena, I will hit it all in your questions too. So let us highlight the paranormal for you. So come join me for Spaced Out Sundays starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com.
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and hashtag Spaced Out Radio, and on Facebook Spaced Out Radio Show. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back to the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Great to have you with us. Tomorrow night on the program, Grant Cameron is going to join us. We are going to talk about Zendras. We're going to talk about Disclosure, the Alien Cosmic Expo coming up in Toronto. We got a full show tomorrow night starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time at spacedoutradio.com. We welcome in everyone listening in on the SOR radio network, including the Fringe.fm. And if you want to check out our archives, what you got to do is go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. All I ask in return is you hit that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate that. And check out our archives for free. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Okro Lucas. There we go. Okro Lucas. Yes, I think I got it. Ochre Lucas is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, Space Travelers, as Bill sets the password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Now, if you want to follow us on our website, spacedoutradio.com, we got a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to some Bumblefoot, shop at our Spaced Out Radio store, read up on the encounter online, or watch great videos from UFO Seekers, Contact TV, and so much more. We want to say thank you to Geraldine Orozco for coming in the first 2 hours for the Spiritual You. We're going to continue along the paranormal lines now with Tessa Nicole Thomas from Four Corners Paranormal in Colorado, as well as Spaced Out Sundays. Welcome back, Tessa. Good to have you with us.
Hey, thanks for having me, Dave, and hey, everyone in the chat rooms.
Now, Tessa, you being a paranormal investigator, a lot of times we will get these situations where spirits will attach themselves to us. A lot of times we don't know that it is actually happening. What causes an attachment, in your opinion?
A lot of times it's like a chink in the armor, so to speak. You could have perhaps an injury, lack of sleep, depression, anxiety, any sort of thing like that can leave like a hole basically in your aura where something can get through. And you don't have to be on a hunt to pick something like that up. You can be out at a music festival or out at the bar or wherever you may be, and something may just take an interest in you and decide to attach because you look like yummy dinner. So, yeah, there's several different ways for you to open yourself up to things like that. And it can be kind of scary at times and somewhat hard to get rid of, depending on the entity.
Now, with an entity, can anyone attach, whether they're good or bad?
I believe so. I don't really think it matters what their neutrality is. But I haven't really heard of really a positive ghost clinging to someone unless, you have a gift and they can sense that and they're trying to get their message through. For the most part, when you get an attachment, it can be a dark entity, a demon, or perhaps a parasite. And but yeah, positive entity attaching is kind of really heard of, unless it's family or someone that's needing help from you, if you do have the perception to see or hear such things.
Right. So give us an example of some of the cases you have handled as a paranormal investigator when it comes to people dealing with attachments.
A lot of times, let's see, cases that we've dealt with that. One was a girl who had been abused and abandoned as a child, and she was somewhat mentally handicapped, and she had a pretty major attachment. And we tried to do things for her as far as cleansings and advice, and also we advised her to get some psychological help to deal with her past issues, because all this other stuff wouldn't really help until she started dealing with that. And Another one, well, basically, when we had Mia and Corrine on, Mia actually got an attachment from one of the people in the chat room that she was helping, and she said that was really hard for her to get rid of, and it really caused some chaos in her life for about a week. And it could be just moving into a new place. You can move in somewhere and something can already be there and, pick you out of your family for whatever reason, whether you're dealing with an ailment or not getting enough rest. And a lot of times they do like to pick out the person that is aware of their gift or aware that there is another side out there. And that's hard for them because, they'll see these things and their family may not until much farther down the road. But a lot of times, clients will think perhaps they're going crazy. But yeah, it's a pretty interesting field, and we have dealt a lot with those. I did a cleansing not too long ago where I hadn't been getting enough rest, and I went, underestimating the case, and I was on my own because my other team members were working, and went in and showed the lady how to sage and use protective stones and prayer, and failed to do my St. Michael prayer at the beginning of the case. And being that I was surrounded by sage, I just kind of blew off saging myself afterwards. And later on that night, it basically took hold of me for about 3 hours. And but yeah, I was able to get rid of that. It was pretty hairy. That was the most severe attachment I had, but luckily it went away right after that. I'm not sure what kind of it was probably trying to scare me away from helping her anymore, basically. But yeah, it's pretty scary when stuff like that happens, even if you do know, how to handle it, but particularly when you don't. And that's why, we're here to help those sort of people.
The same thing happened just a couple of weeks ago when I was, attacked by one of the spirits at our ghost tour that we do here. And it's funny, we got a ghost tour coming up this Saturday night, and I'm already thinking I got to go to the museum tomorrow to make sure that everything is A-OK in all of the buildings. So it's just something that is a little bit more comfortable for me in doing that. But I look at it, and there were steps that I didn't take in the last time when I got attacked. We didn't have our pre-group prayer. I didn't go to the museum a couple days before to remind the spirits that the tour was coming up. And as minuscule as these things are, it was what I needed to do. And I didn't do it, and I had to suffer the consequences. So it's amazing how that can affect what you're doing.
It really is, and just letting your guard down for that little bit and kind of forgetting those tiny little things that may have prevented it beforehand. I mean, it's so important every time to take those into account. But I'm glad you had your friend there with you, and I'm glad you're okay from that. That was a pretty hairy situation.
Oh, indeed it was. Indeed it was. And, am I intimidated? I'm going to say a little. I'm not going to BS it, but on the flip side, I'm not scared. There's a difference between being scared and giving that energy over to it, rather than, trying to, just fend it off and say, whatever, it didn't really happen. I just, got sick and whatever. You just can't do that. You can't have that attitude. But on the flip side, it was a good talking piece for a lot of people who now want to attend the ghost tour. That's for sure.
Yeah, that was some really good free advertisement there.
Yes, it was.
But yeah.
I got a question.
But I agree with you.
I got a question for you in regards to attachments. I worked a case recently here, me and Bazooka Joe, who you know from the chat room. He is on my team, which we call Gold Rush Paranormal, that we're just establishing up here. We went to a case just this past Sunday, so 2 days ago. Now, I'm going to keep the names out of it. I'm going to keep, a lot of the situation out. But have you ever had a case where you've dealt with someone who was part of a former gang?
We actually have a case coming up if the guy still wants us to come in. And I believe he was part of a gang, but and I've dealt with people that have been in prison and may have been in gangs while they were in there, but no, that's a pretty interesting case you have. Do you think that it's due to somebody or something that he may have harmed or done wrong to you, or?
No, you know what? It was funny. The energy that we experienced there was leave him alone. We were dealing with the wife. And he's not really a believer in this stuff, and it really was about leaving him alone. And we figured, we needed to give him his peace, okay, and give him his space. It wasn't about being intrusive. It wasn't about being, obnoxious or trying to force feed him into something that he really doesn't believe in, And the energy feeling that I got from this guy was that he was a good guy. You know what I'm saying? He, when you're in that world, you have your bad moments just like everybody does. But he wasn't one of those dudes who would, who, even though he's not part of things anymore, would continue that chip on his shoulder. But the residual energy that we were getting off of him, even from I never met the man. I saw him for about 10 seconds. But the residual energy that was coming off of him was very difficult.
That's interesting. And, with his sort of energy, did you find it negative or dark at all, or chaotic, or what kind of energy were you sensing?
Oh, how can you put it? Just, you know what? It was more leave me and my secrets alone. And I was going to respect that. Even though a lot of what seemed to be going on seemed to revolve around, his disbelief in the supernatural or paranormal. And that was just a door that I didn't want to open. And Bazooka Joe and I had talked about it, and we were just like, yeah, we're not really going there. We're not really going there. And, granted, he hung up his gang membership or his group membership, however we want to call it, and was not part of that lifestyle anymore. And in return, I guess the way I looked at it was that energy was still there, if that makes sense, that residual energy.
Yeah, and it's funny because, any sort of dark or negative or chaotic energy like that can cause, it can feed a dark entity if the wife is having issues with that, and also him not being supportive or believing of her can cause a rash of problems as well. So I hope he comes around and is more supportive for his wife like he needs to be. And, maybe someday it'll rear its head at him and, he'll realize what's going on and try to help her out in that situation, because we are better in numbers,
Absolutely. And I think that will go that way, But I'll tell you, what a beautiful piece of property they have. What a beautiful piece of property. I would love to have been there for that, or to have that property. But nonetheless, what was really cool was one of the things we were picking up in that area was it seemed like there was a body hidden there but long, long ago. Like I'm talking about 100, maybe 120 years ago. When you just get that, you just get that sense when you walk into an area that's old, and that area was right along the Gold Rush Trail at one point. It just felt like there was a body there. It's kind of cool.
I wonder if perhaps that person that was I don't know if they were buried there or, like you were saying, hidden there. Maybe that could be some of the uneasiness on the case. Maybe they need their, you know how when you go to a funeral, they'll bless the grave and everything and basically give them like their final rites. And so maybe that person could be reaching out. Maybe you could use your pendulum and try to find him and maybe give him his last respects and give him some peace on the other side.
I may have to do that. But it still comes down to protection and how you adjust yourself. A lot of people go into paranormal investigation because they're debunkers or just want to play games where they don't really believe in protecting themselves. Why is it so important that we do?
If you don't, some of these things, like I said before, are hard to get rid of, and you could be dealing with trauma from whatever situation you put yourself in for the rest of your life, and these things can cause health issues, whether minor or major, and they can even cause death because just being around that dead energy is not good for us, to be around all the time. So protecting yourself is key. It's just like, if you're going to go into a dangerous area or a war zone or whatnot, are you going to go in there unprotected? I doubt it. I mean, you need to bring your protection and have things there to protect you that you have faith in, because I believe faith is a big part of it. If you don't believe in what's protecting you, I don't think it works as well.
So which way should people protect themselves?
Wherever their faith lies. I mean, there's no one right way. Like I was saying, it's all about faith, whether it's in God or St. Michael the Archangel, or I like to wear a cross. I used to have a crucifix that I'd wear, but somehow the Jesus that was on it popped off, and I haven't been able to find it, but I got a silver cross that I wear now, and I generally carry protective stones, and like I said before I go in, I'll say a prayer to St. Michael for protection, and depending on the case, if it's a really hairy case and we know it and we're going in there, we'll generally use holy water. There's also holy oil. There's so many different things out there, and so many different belief systems. It's all about what you believe in, you find solace in, and that you feel protected by, truly protected. You can't just halfway do it, you got to full-fledged have your faith in that, or it's not going to work like it should. And not just your preemptive protection, but you need your proactive protection where you're saging. If you feel like you do have something attaching to you, you can use holy water if you believe in that. And there's so many other woods and herbs and stuff out there that people use to cleanse themselves as well. But yeah, just don't ever underestimate the situation, and be prepared for anything. And, and like you said, don't fear it, but at the same time, don't underestimate it. Have a healthy respect for it, because you never know what could happen and come from it.
Okay,
what do you like to use for protection?
I prefer prayer, and I prefer to sage or use Palo Santo wood. I feel comfortable with that. But I also, in my opinion, I'm a believer of God, so I decide that, for me, my own personal inner faith is more important to me than the actual sage or anything else. Plus, I wear an Orthodox cross around my neck as well, which I always seem to have on. But nonetheless, there's a lot of people in this field, Tess, who may not believe in a higher power or a higher deity, God, source, or whatever creative name people are coming up with these days to talk about God in their own personal way.
Mm-hmm.
They may not believe that they need to protect themselves. Are they more vulnerable if they don't have any belief of a higher power?
I don't think so. One of the main things that you need to have is faith in yourself and the knowledge of knowing that you are more powerful than the entities and other things out there. They want you to believe you're not. That way they can feed off of you, off of your fear and your anxiety and whatever may come along with it. Having faith in oneself and knowing that you are the higher power, and especially when you're in your own home and something is there or something tries to come in, you have to claim that that's your rightful property, and if they are dark, they no longer belong there, and send them on their merry way. But a lot of people do doubt themselves and allow, doubts to creep into their mind and compromise them, and just having that knowledge that you are more powerful than it will weaken it. And eventually, if you do have an attachment and you rewire your thoughts, a lot of times they'll provoke contention and fights and squabbles between marital couples. If you rewire yourself to be positive and to react positively and do positive things and look forward to positive things, it's not going to have that negative to feed off of, and it'll basically be like a scuba diver that runs out of oxygen and it'll leave and go somewhere else. I mean, you starve it out in the long run that way. There's so many ways to deal with them, and like I've said before, not one case is the same as the other. There's so many, just like you and I are individuals, these people and entities on the other side are also individuals and unique in their own ways, and not one thing works for all of them, because it's not just your faith, but, their faith when you're trying to get rid of them as well. If it's someone that doesn't believe in God and you're trying to banish them by God, I mean, they'll kind of laugh at that. You just got to do your homework and figure out what you're dealing with and what route to take from there. But as far as protecting yourself, go with what works for you and what you believe in, and know that you're more powerful than this dark entity or negative entity trying to feed off of you and your family.
Let's get to a couple questions from the audience here. Gail is saying, I don't understand why you guys knowingly walk into a dangerous experience. Everything's a dangerous experience. Going to McDonald's is a dangerous experience. Hell, kids going to high school these days are a dangerous experience. Eating my former mother-in-law's cooking was a dangerous experience. I never knew if it was going to be poisoned or not.
Well, I'm glad you survived.
Is it dangerous? Tess?
Is what dangerous? What?
Going into these locations, how dangerous is it?
Like I said before, you don't have to go out looking for the paranormal to find you. You can go to a store or a friend's house or a music fest or somewhere where it may be. But I feel justified in what I'm doing because I'm trying to help people, and that's, what I've always done. I'm a people person that I basically am a people pleaser, and I try to help people, and now I've just carried it on to try and help people in this situation and on the other side, because there are so many people out there that need help, and there's not a lot of us out there doing it. I feel like it's a lot more than used to be. But my aunt kind of brought something up like that because I told her I'd pray and stuff before I went in, and she's a real hardcore religious person, and she believes that there really aren't ghosts, they're all demons, and that me putting myself in that situation, that God doesn't want me to do that, and why would he protect me if I do that? And I believe I'm doing the right thing, and he gave me these gifts for a reason, and so I'm going to utilize them and build upon them. I feel like it's wrong for me not to. But I don't fear it, because fear is food for them. I actually get excited about it, and sometimes I get nervous, but I know in the end it's all going to work out good. But yeah, I don't fear these situations, but just keep in mind you don't have to be doing ghost hunting or paranormal things for paranormal and dark things to find you. They could find you at the supermarket. They could be on one person that they're almost done feeding off of because there's not much left, and see you, and you just look like the prime objective, and they're going to cling to you and go on with you home. I mean, people pick up things all over the place.
All right, let's get to another question here. This one from Periscope, where Dawn is saying, or asking you, Tessa, could you reveal how to reach you, Tessa, for help? Her sensitivity is growing and she needs to exercise it, not sure how to do it.
So she needs to find me, like, after the show? Is that what she's saying?
Yes.
She could find me at Four Corners Paranormal Investigations. On that website, it has my personal phone number, as well as my personal email. And I'm available generally all hours. I don't go to bed until 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning most times, and get up fairly early for that bedtime. But just get a hold of me on my phone, 970-426-1991.
Yep.
And you can text or call or whatever. But yeah, it's all on the website. And just email me or send me a text, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm. I tried to cover up your phone number there. Don't give phone numbers over the air.
Okay.
I'm whispering that on the air. Don't do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about do that again?
All right. Good. Nobody heard us.
Nobody's the wiser.
Exactly. Anyhow, Tessa is very good when it comes to getting help like that. So go to her website and make sure that you get her contact information that way. When it comes to darker entities, we got a question here from Yvonne on Periscope, who is asking, how do I know what a dark entity is?
Aloha, Yvonne. Listen to your gut. You'll feel it. Sometimes when a dark entity tries to attach to you, you'll start to feel nauseous, sick to your stomach. You'll feel it. You'll feel the negativity, the sadness, or whatever it is that it reveals to you. I mean, a lot of times people that aren't used to this stuff are just automatically scared because it's the unknown to them. But it's just like being around a person. You can tell when you're around a negative person, or I can, or a positive person. You just kind of feel their energy, and it's the same with people or entities on the other side. You just kind of, or I just kind of automatically know what it is as far as what energy they're putting off. But just, trust your gut and listen to your senses. It's just like when you're out in the woods and a, mountain lion or something's stalking you. You get the hair raised on the back of your neck, and you get the feeling of being watched and something's hunting you. You'll just, hopefully, knowing you and how intuitive you are, Yvonne, I feel like you would know by the feeling that it gave off. And things it does, like, if you notice in your house, people fighting over nothing, or more often than they would generally. People get moody and angry and generally over nothing, because they cause, thoughts and angry emotions and feelings. They try to push that off on you, what they're feeling, and cause you to react the way they want you to, so they could feed off of you. But yeah, just listen to your gut and what feeling you're getting off of it, and go from there.
She's saying she has zero intuition, and that's what bugs her.
Really? I kind of feel like we all do, to a certain extent. It's just trusting yourself and trusting your gut. I don't know. I find that surprising, because she seems very intuitively wise to me.
I don't, and I can see. I mean, I think you're thinking of of the Yvonne in the Spreaker chat room.
Oh, okay. Probably not that one then.
Different Yvonne. There's more than one in this world.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the whole point that the whole point that we're getting at with this, Yvonne, when it comes to not being tuned into your intuition, just look. This is what I tell people on my ghost hunt when we take them out on the tour before we even start. I tell them point blank that if you're feeling off in any way, okay, if you're feeling angry for no reason, you're feeling sick for no reason, you're feeling nauseous, dizzy, just something out of sorts that just doesn't feel right, you may want to look into it, because that is how you start telling. Once you're able to read yourself, and that's not even an intuitive thing, just reading yourself, you know how you feel, you know how you are doing, when you're having those days where you're pissed off at something, but you don't know why you're pissed off, and there's no reason for you to be upset about anything. That's something you may want to look into. Now, like, this is where I wish we had Yvonne calling in, because we could ask her point blank, what is giving you this thought? And Yvonne, we'll wait for your response. I realize there's about a 20-second delay on Periscope. But my question to you, Yvonne, would be, are you concerned that there is something dark around, or are you just trying to learn how to tell? Because there's a big difference, a very big difference. If you feel there's something dark, then that is intuition. If you're just curious about the question, then we can work with that. So that's kind of how it goes. So we'll wait for your response as we move forward here on the show. Do you believe then that every location has something dark or something malevolent that could harm? Or do you believe a good spirit could turn at a snap of a finger and go dark because maybe they don't like a line of questioning, or they're feeling intimidated or outnumbered?
I've never encountered that. I've had spirits that have been talking to us, and then if they don't like the line of questions or us being there, they'll generally quit communicating, because if they quit communicating, we're not getting anything and we'll eventually go away. So, but I don't think that every place has darkness in it. And sometimes if there is darkness and light, the light can overwhelm the dark. Like at the railroad station, Kate, she was able to get rid of the brakeman, who was a dark entity. He's the one that stabbed her fiance to death. And she was able to get rid of him. He'd come around and try to cause issues, but while she was there, he couldn't. While she was gone for that 3 months, he had more run over the place. And when we tried to communicate with Emmy, the little girl ghost, he'd come in and threaten her and use cuss words and rudeness, and she'd end up going away and not being able to communicate with us anymore, because he won that battle. But like I said before, Kate came back about 3 months later because she knew Emmy needed protection. So, it can work different ways. And sometimes, there's like, I don't know if you've heard of like soul collectors, or people who have control over people during their human life, and once they die, they still retain that control because that's what that person has always known. So they're able to keep that spirit there, which I don't like and I don't agree with, because I think it goes totally against free agency. But I mean, this is a learning process for all of us, and we don't know everything, so there's new things to learn, and there are ways to beat those sort of spirits. But no, I don't think every place has a dark entity, but I'm pretty sure most places have some sort of energy or some ghostly activity going on. Even if you build a brand new house on a property, something could have happened there hundreds of years ago that still is retained in the property, even though it's just a brand new house on there that shouldn't be haunted. It could be the property that's haunted and not the house at all. No, I don't think there's darkness everywhere, but it's quite a few places.
Yvonne follows up and says, no concerns on her level. She's just simply curious. She tends to be a little bit of an empiricist. Nice usage of the word empiricist. That's the first time it's been used on this show. So thank you, Yvonne. Bringing up our vocabulary one word at a time. Still not as good as plethora. Empiricist, though. That's a nice word. Going to have to figure out how to use that one in a sentence at a later date. All right, thanks, Yvonne. Let's get over to the Spreaker chat room. Rick has a question for you, Tessa. Is it all belief and intention? In his opinion, it is. What's your thoughts when it comes to protection?
For the most part, yeah, I do believe that. And especially when you're cleansing, intention is very, very important. And belief in yourself and the process that you're using. If you don't have that faith and belief, I don't find it will work as well. You have to be behind it full-fledged or it won't. But yeah, I agree with that, Rick. I really do.
All right, follow up from Rick. If we have spirit guides, then don't they help us? I guess if we believe it to be true. I think spirit guides can only do so much. They're more there for guidance than they are actual advancement. They're not going to take a bullet for you or save you from stepping in front of a train because you just think you want to be brave that day and put yourself in a dangerous situation, a la Gail, who's just a rebel and carries her protective helmet everywhere she goes because she's a rebel that way. Right? Nothing like that. But I think they're more for spiritual ascension rather than and guidance rather than protection.
Yeah, and hence the reason they're called guides. They're there to guide you, and I don't know. I listen to the still small voice within me and cues that I wouldn't expect, and I don't know if that's my guide or if that's just my gut. I'm still learning, and I don't know a lot about guides, and I haven't really looked into it. But I've heard that most of us have them, if not all of us. But I'm not really sure how those work. But I do agree that they are called guides for a reason. They're here to guide us, and I'm sure they do want to protect us. If we listen close enough, we can hear what they're trying to tell us. But like you said, Dave, they're not going to jump in front of a bullet for you or drag you out from in front of the train. You got to kind of use your common sense. And
you know what? I'm going to confirm that with you, okay? I had a situation in 2013 where I had a beautiful ATV. It was a Polaris 800 Sportsman. It went like stink. And I got invited to go riding with two people that I don't normally ride with. My best friend wasn't coming with me, and he was out of town that weekend, but I wanted to go riding. I was adamant I was going to go riding. It took me 90 minutes to drive up by myself to where I'm going to meet these guys to go ride. And when I got there, or in that drive, the entire way there, I kept hearing in my voice, today is not a good day to ride, turn around. Today is not a good day to ride, turn around. 15 minutes into our ride, because I didn't listen to that voice, I flipped my ATV on a small washout. My ATV rolled over top of me and rolled down an embankment, a mountainous embankment about 150, 200 feet, just destroying my ATV, destroying it.
Man.
And the week before, I had decided that, you know what, I'm not a stupid rider. Okay, I wasn't one of these guys who took chances. I knew I was on something powerful, more powerful than me, and my accident happened. It was a fluke accident. And I didn't even bother I was stupid. I didn't even bother taking insurance on it. All right?
Yeah.
So I ended up took us 2 hours to get my ATV back up the mountain. I was not hurt, thank goodness. But if I would have listened to that voice and just turned around, That's what I believe my guardian angel was telling me. That's why I always listen to that little voice, and I think it's my guardian angel, is because I don't want to be put in that predicament again. That was a hard kick in the ass lesson that I had to take. Let's get to another question here. Dennis is saying, can a benevolent or nice ghost or spirit turn hostile if they know you can see them or when you photograph them? I will say yes on this, Dennis, because of the guy in the barn who just attacked me. I never had a problem with him until he figured out, thanks to me, that he had been photographed. And I had showed him his picture about a year ago. I don't think he liked that. And I think he has been on edge ever since. So I strongly believe that. What do you think, Tess?
I think it's very important to always have respect, and even if you feel like you sound crazy when you're asking the air, is it okay if I take a picture? That's a lot better than just doing it and having residuals from it, because I have heard stories like that. But always have respect when you're doing stuff like that. I haven't heard of like good spirits turning bad, but I have heard of them, trying to scare you, and you may look upon them as being malevolent, but they're really just trying to protect themselves and scare you out of their place that they find peace in. But yeah, I would say always have respect, the utmost respect for them, because they're people just like us. They're just on the other side.
You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. And that is something that we need to watch out for. But we're going to get to a couple more questions before we get to the thought of the day today. We're going to go back to Rick, who is asking about protection. All right, never mind. It's a repeat question. Rick, I'll always get to your questions. You don't need to repeat them. He's a rookie. We'll forgive him this time. He just learned how to put a picture on his profile. Handsome guy. Good beard. Good beards. Very tight along the sides, going up to the sideburns. Very good. But nonetheless, all right. Let's see here if we got any other questions in the chat room here before we turn to the thought of the day. I think we're good. I think we are good. Let's get to the thought of the day for right now. Thought of the Day happens every night at this time, where during the day we go and put our questions on Facebook and Twitter, and we ask for your opinion. And then we read your responses on the air. So today's Thought of the Day goes like this. If you could have one spiritual ability, what would it be and why? What spiritual ability would you want, Tess?
Well, I put it on there because I didn't know I was going to be on the show tonight, but the spiritual ability I would like to have would be healing, both physically and emotionally, as well as psychologically, because I know so many people out there that are hurting or dying from terrible diseases, and a lot of them mean a lot to me, so I'd really love to have that gift to help them out and not feel so helpless,
I'm going a little bit more fun than that. I would like some sort of, telekinesis or the ability to transport myself somewhere else.
Oh, that would be awesome. I'd love transportation like that.
Yeah, all of a sudden, like my buddies are partying in Vegas or Mexico, and all of a sudden I just snap my fingers and I go, that's the power I want. That's the power that I want. Everybody goes with the sappy healing. Oh, I want to heal the world. I want to heal. And you know what? I get that. But I'm going to be selfish here. I want to be able to transport myself anywhere just by the snap of a finger. I'll never miss a party and I'll never sleep again. It would be fantastic. Let's get to some of your responses. Let's start off on Twitter. Graham says, I've already got 2 or 3. Why the good gods would I want more, Dave? Seriously. But then turning iron into gold isn't technically spiritual, so yeah. Nah, it's a good thought of the Dave, though not too bad. On second thought, healing. Yeah, healing. That would be good. There we go with the healing. All right. Let's do a head count on healing today. So we got you, we got Graham. All right. Trees comes up. It says, oh, here's one. Here's one on my side. I would like to teleport to all the places I'd like to see. Paris, Rome, New York City, Canada, etc. I wonder if he knows Canada's not a city. Right. Name cities on the other one, but that's okay. All right. Raven states, I already have some that I just don't really understand. I guess it would want to be to better control or hone in on their skills. All right. Let's move on here. God of Thunder, Canadian Joe, is like healing. A lot of suffering could be alleviated. That's right. All right, let's go over to Facebook now. Catherine jumps in. If I were to have one spiritual ability, it would be the ability to cross dimensions. Then I could search out multidimensional candy. Oh.
I wonder what that tastes like. I bet it's delicious.
So if you go into different dimensions and eat all the candy, obviously you're going to gain weight and get a little chunky there. Okay, and if I look down at old Davy here, I'm sure I've got a head start. But would your body on other timelines gain weight as well?
I don't know. What if other dimensional candy actually makes you lose weight?
Ooh. And does not give cavities.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Now we're just getting into the silliness. A-hole skeptic on Twitter is going to be all over me for that one. Basically, like, come back to reality, jerk, or something along those lines. Hashtag Spaced Out Radio if you want to join us on Twitter. John jumps in and says, to leave and re-enter my physical body instantly and at will, because I want the power to decide when I've had enough of this human experience, being able to decide exactly when is the right time to move on, disregarding, of course, the body's natural expiry date, which is not easily controllable, should be my own decision alone. That actually means a lot. So basically what he's saying here is, let's say his body goes and dies, but mentally and with his brain, he is not ready to move on. He just goes and hops in another cadaver, pulls the, I guess it's push button start now, rather than pull the cord, and off he goes. He gets it running and off he goes. Much like a lawnmower. John, you're a lawnmower. That's what you want to be. Just one of those two pull starts. That's right. Briggs & Stratton, that's a good motor. You might want to check that out instead of a heart. Briggs & Stratton motor, just 2 pulls, man, and off you go. You might be able to get there. All right. Chris says, staring at a goat long enough that it would fall over.
Well, they have fainting goats. You could, scream or startle them, and they just fall over.
I know, but remember the
Get
movie...
a fainting goat.
But it goes to the fact of, the whole MJ-12 thing where, and George Clooney did a movie about the men who stare at goats. That's what he's wanting to do. That's what he's wanting to do, is he wants that goat to collapse, at his own will. Robin states, I would like to have infinite knowledge because there are places here and other worlds I would love to discover. That would be smart. That would be cool. To know everything. But wouldn't that make you a god? And you would have to have your own chariot?
I think if you knew everything, it'd make things boring.
Most of the time, yes. But could it be boring? No, you know what? I don't think it would be boring because you would at least have the ability to enjoy it, though. Knowing it and seeing the outcome are two different things, are they not?
Mm-hmm.
There you go. I think we're making things happen there. Carla jumps in. The ability to foresee winning lottery numbers.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've heard people that can remote view can actually do that. So check that out.
How many remote viewers have won the Powerball? Come on.
I don't know. I was listening to this guy on Art Bell, and he was saying that they were able to do that. But he said, "What's the fun in that?" So now they just look for gold.
See, I'm gonna call BS on that one, and I'll tell you why. And it's not that you brought it up. I'm not crapping on you here, but I'll tell you BS.
I didn't.
I'll tell you why it's BS. Because if he says that it wasn't that exciting, yeah, it's not that exciting after you cash in the $100 million check that you were going to get after taxes for winning the Powerball. Like, come on. If there is a bigger piece of poo statement, that's it. That is totally it right there.
Yeah, I thought it didn't sound right either, because I would be totally excited.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Let's get to Sylvia's question. To help people cross over to paradise, I would love to comfort them and take their fear of dying away. I believe there are death doulas for that now. I really do. Joe Rope from Spaced Out Saturdays jumps in and says, invisibility. Although I can't see if he typed anything else because it's invisible.
Ooh.
Ooh, exactly. Dawn says, we'll get another check mark for you. I would want to be a healer. Brent steps in and says, outside of my ability to travel astrally, I would love to be able to really talk to the dead, as there are so many celebrities that I would love to help them solve their deaths, amongst other things. Well, you got to get in line. There's many psychics who claim they are doing that, but are they really? We just never know. But having confirmation that you're able to do that, Tessa, that would be a little fantastic.
Yeah, that'd be pretty amazing.
Jade hops in to say, to heal people. Here we go again with the healing. Be selfish, Jade. To heal people and help them be aware, especially by enabling them to see their true essence, their God spark. Is that like the Transformers All-Spark? You know, that's the soul of a Transformer, is the All-Spark, and when it goes out, the Transformer is dead. I learned that because my son taught me that at 4 years old.
What a good son.
Yes, he cares. I'm totally up to date on sharks and Transformers now. Daryl's, thank you. Daryl is wearing his unicorn helmet here, and he says, to infuse love in everyone's mind. The why is because we are one. Very zen. Final one of the night goes to one of our former guests from Down Under, Bobby Richardson, author extraordinaire. The ability to wake people up to any illusion that does not serve them. I don't know what that means. That is way over my head, Tess.
I think it means there's a lot of people that blind themselves with their own illusions, and just to help them see through their BS would be a nice power to have.
Could very well be. Could very well be. We'll get PJ's in here quickly. She'd like to be a channeler. A good one. A real one. Just grab the remote. Hit the channel up and channel down. You're channeling. There you go. We solved that for you. Tess, thank you so much for being on Spaced Out Radio tonight.
Thanks for having me, Dave. It was fun.
And you can also hear Tessa every Sunday night at spacedoutradio.com, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time. We also want to say a big thank you to Geraldine Orozco, who came in for The Spiritual You. Happens the first Tuesday of every month. And we appreciate Geraldine for stopping on by once again. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. We want to say a big thank you to everybody watching on Periscope.tv tonight. Everybody sitting at home, in your cars, at work, wherever you may be. The Periscope chat room was flying tonight, so was Spreaker. Thank you so much for doing that. Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Lots of love for all of you out there. And, of course, the Veterans Club, the SOR Space Travelers on Facebook. Finally nailed that big mention, which I really appreciate, Bill Cardwell, after butchering it the first time. Thank you so much for sharing the love, spreading the word, letting people know where to find us every single night, because together, my friends, we own the night. I will talk to you in 21 hours from now. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Have a good one, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow night. Grant Cameron is our guest. Look forward to it, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time. Good night.